All right. Well, good evening. How are y'all doing? This is your favorite bad boy, isn't it? Packet Tracer 6, right? All right. I'm going to show you a little hint about all these before we get started. Your default gateway for your PCs is going to be that port. Why? These PCs have to go through that port to get out, right? I have my WAN. Look very familiar? Your default gateway for these PCs are here. Default gateway for this one is right here. Right? Y'all understand that concept? So, with that being said, let's figure out some things. First things first, we have been given the range 192.168.23.0, right? Forget the /24. All the /24 is to tell you is you're defaulting to a full Class C address. Well, 192 should tell you that, right? If you're 192 or greater, you're going to be on the Class C network. So, what does it say? Well, it says we have 7 subnets, right? Before we start really getting and breaking it down, I want to point out a couple things. What is a WAN point-to-point? I.e., my red link. Because I have a point-to-point. Does that make sense now? Y'all are kind of seeing how this is transpiring. Now, granted, my drawing is not going to be on the recording, but you can hear me talking about it, so you'll know what I'm talking about. All right. The WAN point-to-point link. Our first subnet says R2, or central, meaning this guy right here, is looking at that area right there. Okay? It says we need how many hosts? 60. Well, I don't know how to do this. Very simple. Remember, we're in our Class C address, so the D octet is the last octet we're going to deal with, right? By default, every octet will have these exact same things. 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. You'll have a 128, 192, 224, 240, 248, 252, 254, 255. And thank goodness you can't see my writing on here because it's pitiful. And I've got stuff in my way. All right. At this point, we're at 24. The side are 24, right? The number that they gave us. So what are we going to do? Well, we need 60 hosts, right? So if I need 60 hosts, what number on this line will give me greater than 60 hosts? Now, first off, this is my increment, network increment. This is my subnet mask value. Okay? Another quick trick before we start calculating this. Subnet masks. If we're over here, I've already used the 3, right? So I'm focusing on what is my mask value. So let's come over here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I know y'all can't see 7, right? But I'm going to do something a little different here. We always start with a 0 address for our network address. Okay? So our first network is going to be the 192.168.23.0. 2, we don't know yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark these down because I have my subnet address, right? So long as I have an X, that means 255, so that number is going to come straight down. Okay. We needed 60 hosts, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, y'all are awake. 60 hosts. What number on my increment value is greater than 60? 64. So we're borrowing right here, aren't we? That means when these two numbers are, they're on the network side, not the host side anymore. Does that make sense? Y'all remember that from a little bit of binary. So if we got 64, I'm going to come over here and say, okay, my next network is starting at 64. Why? Because that's my increment value. So if I turn on all these, if it hit one more, I've turned 64 on, right? Remember, this is a 0 value. Before I can turn this one on, all those have to be on. So that's getting into the bit level. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So if I'm at 64, that automatically tells me my next network starts at 64. Well, if it starts at 64, what do I go to here? Say it, I can't hear you.
62.
No. 63. 63. Now, this is my network address. This is my broadcast. Okay. So now I've got 64. Well, for subnet 2 now, right? How many hosts do we need? 28. Where are we going to borrow? 32, right? Now, one thing let me put my mask out here. When we were at 64, what was my subnet mask? 192. Okay, make sense? So if I'm at 64, I borrow one more over, I'm now at 224, right? So if I'm incrementing by 32, what is 64 plus 32? 96. So what would I be here? 95. Okay? My next network says I have to have 12. What number do I borrow?
Yeah, 12.
16, right? So if I'm doing 16, well, I'm at 96. Let's add 16 to it. Gives me 112, right? What's my mask for this 96 that we borrowed 16? Right? 111 is my broadcast. Y'all catching on how easy this is, how simple this is? Okay? Now here's the trick one. For subnet, I need how many hosts? What number do I borrow? 16. Rule of thumb. I have 8 hosts, right? But I have a broadcast and a network, so I take my 2 off, that gives me 6 hosts. I say I need 8. I can't put 8 addresses in 6 IPs. So you have to borrow 16 again. So we borrow 16 again. That puts us at what? 128. So again, we're at 240 for our mask. So 128, right? Now, if I have a point-to-point, and here's another quick thing. In the last octet, you will never use these. So, what am I going to use now? I need 2 addresses, and I have a broadcast, and I have a network. I'm using 4, right? Which means I'm always going to be at a 252. Anytime you have a WAN connection, your subnet mask will be 255, 255, 255, 252. Always, because it's a point-to-point. It works out perfect. That's why they do it. That's why when you get Cox high-speed or any high-speed internet, you have 2 public IP addresses. Why? Because they can't just give you 1. They have to give you 2. They're not going to give you 6. That's wasting space. So they're going to give you 2. So if I'm doing that, now what do I have? If I'm going up by 4s, because that's my network increment, right? Because we took 4. What's 128 plus 4? Again, 4. Right? So I have 132, 136. So my next one would have been 140, right? Because I'm using the IP addresses in here, so my next network would start on 140. We know these are 252s. Take off 1. Take off 1. Right? Any questions? You have now subnetted all 7 subnets. Now you want to know the cool part? Now that you subnetted it, you really didn't have to do the bottom 2. Future. Anywhere you have future, like 2 and 4, we don't even have to use. So you're not even going to use those IP addresses. So now how much did I simplify that for you? Now do you think you can figure it out? Y'all think y'all can figure it out, right? So, to make this a little easier, I'm going to come and move all this stuff off, and we're going to go through it step by step. Okay? All right. Now, one thing I want to show you. You see where this says, assuming IP subnet 0 is enabled. That means I can start with my IP ending in a 0. If it's not, I have to go to my next network. In this case, I would have had to add 60, where I had .64. That would have been my first network. Used to, you had to do that. Now you don't have to do it anymore. Make sense? All right. So, now, we needed to know some information, right? What do we need to know? We had a pretty little table over here. We had router 1, router 2, PC 1, PC 2, and then Eagle server, right? We had fast 0, 0, serial 0, 0, 0. Right? Y'all with me? Okay, now that we have this, we have our IP, we have our mask, and you're not going to have your gateways on those, right? That's what it has on that top box, is that right?
Just the top 2, so.
Oh, no, you're right.
Oh, yeah,
He's
okay,
right.
I saw you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
Router 1, router 2. Okay. This is our default gateway. Now the default gateway, like I said, for PC1 and PC2, match up with router 2's FA00. Right? So we can make a note out here, router 2, F00, so that we know both of these IP addresses, their mask, or the default gateway is going to be that. For simplistic sake, I'm only going to put in the ending octet address. I'm not going to put in the 192.168.23 or 255.255.255. Okay, I'm just for a subnet mask. I'm just going to put XXXX in whatever it is. But for the rest of them, I'm just going to put the dot decimal IP address. So what does it say? For our server, we need to configure the second highest usable IP on the ISP LAN. Well, the ISP LAN is octet 3. So what is our second highest usable?
Second highest usable.
Uh-huh.
Octet 3.
109. Remember, this is the broadcast.
Yeah, okay.
So Our Eagle server is going to be .109, right? What connects to the fast Ethernet on router? 1, which says use the highest. So if we know that this is it, the default gateway for that is going to be 110. Now, we got one. Okay. So what is my mask for that? For the Eagle server? For the range that ends in the 110? 240, right? So I have 240 here, 240 here, right? So we've completed this link. We don't have to worry about it now. Now, router 1's serial interface is configured the highest usable. So what's my highest usable? 130. That means that's 129, right? Again, WAN links are going to end in what? 252. Now we have down to here done. You're seeing how this is all coming together now, right? Okay. So we have that one done. R2 Central's FA00. Highest usable address on the existing student LAN, which is going to be our top one. 62. And we're going to have a 192, right? So we know that these are 192s because that's on the existing LAN, right? It says use the 2 lowest ones, right? With PC1A getting the first one. So you have a .1, .2. Now we know what is router 2's FA00. There you go. Now that you have that filled out, we can subnet this out. And you notice all I'm doing is going down in order what it says. Okay. We've got all those. PC1A and 1B, in addition to the default gateway, we need to configure to use DNS. Uh-oh. What does that mean? DNS address. Eagle server is going to be your DNS address. So what am I going to end in? 109. So we've got that. Great. Y'all with me? So now we need to connect as I fly into the wall. PC1A to the fast Ethernet on switch 01 to the first fast port. So always after you do your auto connect, drag it back over and put it on the right port. Okay? All you do is re-click the connection. Now it needs to go to the second port. So now that I've got it connected, I click on this little red, pull it off, click it back on, go to the second one. Y'all with me? So let's scroll down a little bit. Connect fast Ethernet 00 to router R2. To the highest fast Ethernet port. What is the highest fast Ethernet port? 24. Yeah, it's just clicking on this one closest to it. That unchecks it, and then you can re-click it onto which one you're needing to do it. Okay? That's all that is.
Or you can use the undo.
Do what?
Or you can undo.
Or you can undo it, yeah. Now, connect the fast Ethernet to the Eagle server. That's pretty straightforward. Now, connect a serial DCE cable. So let's come over here. Serial DCE cable to router 1 down to here. Okay, now we have our DCE in. Does that make sense? That's how easy that is to connect that. Now, notice we're at 28%, right? Configure the network. You need to configure both the server, both routers, and the two PCs. Simple. Let's go to Eagle Server. Configuration. Well, guess it would help if I did power it on, wouldn't it? Okay, Eagle Server is up. What is my gateway address for the Eagle Server? The DNS is going to be its own IP address. Okay? We're under settings. And now we'll come back here to this in just a minute. I think it's down here. Okay. Oh no, it's right up here. Additional configurations. Configure the IP addition. Okay. For the server, in addition to the IP and default gateway, enable DNS. So come over to DNS. We're going to enable it. Eagle server.example.com. It's going to be 192.168.23.109. Add it. That created our A record, or our host name record for the DNS, okay? Also, we need to enable HTTP. So come over here, click on HTTP. Pretty simple, right? Everyone's with me? Router 1 ISP. So now that we've got Eagle Server done, let's go over to Router 1. We're going to go into configuration mode. We need to go into the serial 000, turn it on, and set a clock rate. And what's its IP address? 130 for router 1. And then when you hit tab, it automatically will give you a default address, which is not correct. So, since it's a serial, we know that we're there, right? Everyone with me on that? But we also need to configure our fast Ethernet. We need to turn it on. What's our fast Ethernet? And because it's on. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're already at 51%. We've got R1 configured. Now let's go to R2. We got to go into configuration for its fast Ethernet. What is its fast Ethernet? 62?
Yes.
And it's a 192.
Yes.
Right? But I have to turn it on. Now that it's good. Serial. We got to turn it on.
129.
Y'all with me on that? So far so good. Everyone's following along. Anyone not following along? Huh?
Very slowly, but that's okay.
Well, yeah, you'll have the video too. So everyone got that. Okay. Now let's do PC1A. Config. Come on. What's my gateway address?
0.62.
DNS server.
119.
Right? Fast Ethernet, let's turn it on. Let's give it its IP address. Correct? Okay. Let's do this, baby.
Okay. We've got all that, right? But we're at 89%, right? I did all that. Now let's see what we didn't do. What I probably forgot. Hey, 1A's good. 1B's good. Ooh. The fast Ethernet address on Eagle server is not right. Port status and subnet mask. So let's go back to the Eagle server. It's probably because I didn't set it right. .109, and that was a 240. Okay, we got that one right. Now let's see what else did it say. Well, 1A's good, 1B's good, Eagle server's good. Now I have my static routes. Anyone know what a static route is?
Static IP.
No.
Telling you about where to send, what the next hop and where to send the traffic.
The default.
All it is a default route. Oops. I'm telling this, all traffic go out to 129. Does that make sense? Oh, is it 130?
Is it R1 or R2?
That was R2.
R2 is 129.
So we've got that, right? Everyone's with me? Now, we're going to come over here to our static. And we add our static for 130. Why is it not going up?
See, that's what happened to me. I got stuck at 97 and I thought I did the static right,
Because it didn't add it. Oh,
No, it's 130.
The other one,
no, not on R1.
but you gotta send it back.
R2 is 130, R1 is 129.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I know it's 129. It's just not adding it for some strange reason.
Under the-
It's not counting it.
Yeah.
But everyone understand what a default route does. 0000000. That means any address, any subnet mask goes out this port. That's all it means. When we start getting into routing, the routing protocols like RIP a little bit later on, and static routes when you have to define where your traffic is going to what network, then it'll get a little more specific.
You know on that one, if you add the network 192.168.23.0 on the network, no, up there, this says network, up above the mask. Yeah, you put that,
But at the very top.
the very top is the network. Instead of 00, yeah, that, yeah. You put that network in there, that'll work.
Is it 6-2?
You have to remove that, there you go. It worked on mine,
Actually, yeah, because I've got it too. I did that too.
120, yeah. Now add it.
Do what?
It says down at the bottom.
Click
like,
that add, click that add button right
It,
there.
it's not the right mask.
I got mask 26.
Mask 26. So you did.
Instead of
Oh, you
static-
did 192.
Yeah.
Just like that. It should have been able to take the default, but it didn't.
Figure that out.
Any questions? Because all you're doing, you set a static one for that instead of a regular default. So we did that in 36 minutes, with half of it me explaining subnetting. Y'all ready for your final yet? So is there any questions on this one? Now that you have all the answers on the video, I expect everyone to make 100 on it when I open up the box due next weekend, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm making you do, well, this coming weekend.
Do it the next presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 6 is due next week?
Yeah, I'm giving everyone a fair shot at it. Because I wasn't able to explain subnetting on Monday of last week. So I'm giving y'all the lesson on how to do it by now.
So is the other 2 stuff also due?
Yes. And they're going to be basically the exact same thing. Different IP addresses, different hosts. Okay? The rest of them they're just going to be building off of each other. Now that you understand the subnet, this part of the subnetting, how to VLSM, you'll be good. Okay? Is there any questions on that? No questions on this. Okay. Now, we're going to have a little fun. You can come erase the board for me, Casey. Thank you, ma'am. While I'm bringing this up. Yeah, erase all that because you won't need it. This is 2343. Okay. Given the following information. If you have a 192.168.1.0/24, what is my subnet mask?
255. That's
If you do not make 100 on my quiz, in my classes. Network address. What is my network address? Huh? My network address is what? Right? What would be my first host?
that one.
Okay. What's my last host? What's my broadcast? What's my next network?
168.2.2.
Did I get it right? And you thought my test was going to be hard. Okay. What do we have here? We have a right? What's my mask?
255.
It's my mask, right? Because now we're looking at what? A Class B address. Not a Class C. The 16 tells you that you're borrowing 8 bits. 8 bits. Okay? First host.
That's you, that one.
Last host. What is it? 172 what?
That's
55 times 24.
Now, what's my broadcast? So what's going to be my next network? Does that make more sense to you now? Now be very happy because the last semester and in the spring I didn't let them see this. So I'm being very nice tonight. I don't remember. I remember I had to give them like 3 or 4 shots before they started acing it. Okay?
So the last one,
Okay, on the last toast, why is it 255, 254? Because your next network, because you're only doing this, your next network is going to increase over here. You have to fill out all these ones on the host side to be your broadcast. So one less than turning all those hosts on is 255.254. Okay? Since you got that, for the WAN links between R1 and branch routers, B1, B2, B3, and B4, okay, assign the following subnets. There. Okay. Simple. If I have a 10.0.1.0/28 network, what does 28 tell me? I'm borrowing to the 4th bit right here, right? So if I'm borrowing by 4s, remember my 8 out over here?
Do you just know what's that big actually, but when we get our numbers, we have to, that's how we know where it is.
You can count them. Just go. You have 4 octets, right? What did I say? 28? Well, that's greater than the 8, right? So that leaves me with 20. That's greater than the 8. That leaves me what? 12. That's greater than my 8. That leaves me 4 out of 8. So I'm borrowing to the 4th bit in that last octet. Makes it simple how to count it out, right? That's all I'm doing. I'm just doing it in my head. So if I have my 128, 64, 32, 16s, right? My mask, I'm not asking for it. I'm asking for how am I breaking it out. So if I'm breaking it by 16s, and I have 4 addresses, my first one in this octet is going to be a 0. What's my next one? 16, right? What's my next one? My next one? 48, not 64. So, my address is going to be 10.0.1. Okay, between R1. Okay, hang on. Oh, okay. I was thinking of this one. For lanes attached to the branch router, then you subnet it 4 equally. It would have been that. But, so, where was I? For each of the branch routers, using the 10.1.0.18 to 4 equal subnets, you'll do that. That's where you're going to get your 0, 16, 32, 48. I had the 1 in the wrong place. That's why. And I was saying 28, not 18. Yeah. I'm looking from the side. Y'all didn't correct me. But still, basically it's this. And then you have a 0 on the ends. Alright? So we would have been going by 16 or by 18. That's not even right. Because 18, 16, you'd have been going by. No, you'd be going by, you're borrowing 2 in, so you borrow one that's 120. You'd be going by 64s, so the answer's not even wrong on that. But anyway, you're going to have questions very similar to this. I'm going to give you a pictorial in there. Okay? I'm going to be changing this test. Make sure it's the right information. I got to go back and see what I was thinking when I wrote this. Maybe that's why everyone was failing it.
Is it timed or is it quiz time?
No. And then you'll have a question like this. 192. What kind of address is that? 2294. Really simple, guys. You have the 1 to 127, 128 to 191. Then you have a 192. Then you have 224. Just take the first number. Line them up. I intentionally didn't make it hard. Okay. Y'all notice something here? It ends in 127, right? When I'm breaking my bits apart, Class A address will be here, Class B will be here, Class C will be here, Class D's will be here, Class E's will be here. The value actually would be, it's actually over here, which would have been a full. So B would be here, A would have been there, but make sense?
No.
Now, don't you wish you had me for networking? No, you don't. I'd have bored you to death. Is there any questions on this subnetting?
That last one that we left up.
Yes.
It went from the 18 changed it to start being increments of 64 instead of being increments of 16.
If it was 18, yes, it would be by 64.
Okay. We were basing it off of what?
Okay. You have 8,
We were going off of it was 8.
because if it was 18, left you 10, then you'd have 2 into this octet. So I'm right here. My increment value would have been 64. Exactly. This will always be the same in every octet. So once you subtract your numbers out, you know which octet that you're going to be dealing with. That's where your mask value will come into play. Because all the mask does is tell you how your network's increment. That's it. You overthink the numbers. Seriously. That's what everyone has a problem with. Once it took me 3 days to learn this. 3 class sessions. After that, it's like this.
So maybe, you know.
No, seriously. I mean, it does take a little bit of time.
Once I grasp the concept.
Y'all okay with that now? Y'all kind of understand it? Kind of. Better than you did last week, right?
Yeah.
And you can actually hear me better this week. Yes, Adriel.
So where can we go where we can practice this, where we have, the IP addresses and the answers?
And the answers?
Well, to make sure we get it right.
What you can do, just write an IP address down, go to an IP subnet calculator, do it by hand, hit enter, and see if you got your results right. That's the easiest, going to be your quickest way without me creating a cheat sheet, or a sheet for you and giving you answers. Because I find if I give you the answers, it doesn't do you any good. But I want to kind of give you an idea of what your subnetting quiz is going to look like. A little different than what you thought, huh?
Is it next Monday?
It opens the 27th and you have until the 4th.
Saw that.
So I'm going to give you, 7 days to do it. Is there any other questions, items, and concerns? Gripes, moans, complaints? Y'all feel better now that I told you how to do Packet Tracer 6? You have the answers online now, or will be once I finish recording this. Well, I'll have that here, and you can. That's why I do this so that you can go back and listen, because I talk extremely fast. I know I do.
Say that again.
What? I want to make sure that everyone understands what they need to do to get the concepts, okay? I'm not here to hamper your ability to learn, like some people might tell you. I'm not here to make you regurgitate 20-page papers, right, Adriel? Darren, you were in that class too, weren't you? Well, at least you weren't in there like Bryce that had 4 of them to do. Or Brent Long, he had 4 20-page papers in my class. Guarantee you I will never make you do a 20-page paper again, because I had 140 students all had to write 20-page papers, and when you have to grade 140 20-page papers, it gets old quick. After about the second one, I started giving up. No, I went through all of them, but it's mainly because everyone kept coming, is this right? Is this right? So I kind of knew what everyone was writing about. And I broke it out, so you're writing 2-pager, 3-pager, 2-pager, 2-pager, and then you're just putting them all together in one document. So if I do throw you with a 50-page term paper, you may want to beat me with a broomstick, but the way I break it out, it makes it a lot easier for you. Okay? Is there anyone have any questions on Packet Tracer? Y'all think you're going to be able to handle 7 and 8? So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to do some more subnetting in here. And I'm going to cover subnetting. I'm going to work on it with y'all. I'm going to want to do a team relay. So what I might do for your subnetting quiz is, those that are in class, sorry to those that can't make it to class, might count that towards your subnetting test. You'll work in a group and do a relay. Like I'll say, the 4 of you, the 4 of you, the 4 of you, the 4 of you, put you in a group or whatever. Maybe do 3 groups of 6 or whatever. And each one of you are going to be responsible for an IP subnet. And I'll give you the IP subnet. You got to write it on the board and do it. Next week for your IP subnetting test, I might just do that. My challenge, you give you a couple days to work on it and think about it. I just want to encourage you not to scare you off or make you feel oppressed or put down with, the pressure that you may not know it and someone else in your group may, and they may talk down. I don't allow that to happen in my class. If you know it, you don't. Great. When I say a relay, that means your whole team gets to work together on it. So you may have someone strong. You may have someone weak. And if there's an odd one, you may have me in your group. Now, how do you want me in your group? Okay, so there's the 3 right there. No, that's already laid. Jonathan, Marlene, and Amanda got me. Tommy's like, man, I should have raised my hand. No, I don't know. I just want you to have fun and make it an exciting learning environment, okay? But we'll make sure we cover it so that if I don't do it that way and count that as your test, then I make you have to do it, my subnetting quiz online, which is more equitable to what you truly earned in my class, then so be it. Okay, but I want to give you the best shot to get those 10% because that final is going to kill you, right? My goal is by the end of the semester, I want you to tell me y'all's best way to learning, because I want to teach y'all to the best way you can learn so that you can ace my final and blow their other classes out of the water so I can come and laugh at them and say, hey, all these guys got 90s on it, man. Where were you with your 12? Okay? I'm serious. I want to make sure that you can participate and have fun, yet know the material. So if there's anything I can do to help y'all do that, just be sure to email me, let me know. All right? See ya.